Hi guys, this is Vishalar from DrapCode. So in this video, we will understand basics of DrapCode Builder, that what exactly the features are, how to use the builder, and how to use it to build web applications. And we'll also go through the basic concepts while building on DrapCode. Okay, so I'm starting with a very basic blank project, and then we'll go step by step. So let's say intro. I'll just create a project. A dummy project got created. Now it is asking me whether I want to create a multi-tenant application or I just want to create a regular web application. So most of the cases, like DrapCode is really a good fit to build a SaaS, a multi-tenant web applications, right? So let's say there are several tenants or several organizations or company, and each one can have their own team members, can see their data like a typical SaaS. But let's say if you are building anything for your internal organization where you don't need several tenants, several companies, everything is just being used by one organization, then you can build a non multi-tenant application. So in this example, I'll just build a multi-tenant application. So I'll say, okay, so now all the tables, all the collection will have company as a column, so that each company or people of the company will only see the data of that specific company. Okay. So now the project creation is done. It has installed the login sign up plugin. It has installed the multi-tenant plugin. It has created a couple of roles for us. Couple of tenants got created. Users got created. Roles got created. Some data is created. That's all right. These are a couple of users, demo users uh, with a role of user. Super admin is someone who can see everything. And then tenant admin is something which sees the data of that specific tenant. And this is the URL of my project, and this is the preview URL and production URL. So by default, you get two environments. The data is separate, application is separate. So preview is when you're building the application, and production is when you want to go live with your real users. So let's quickly take a look at it. I'll go to preview. It is not showing me anything because the project is not published. So I'll go and say publish. Okay. So whenever you want to see the changes, you will have to publish the project, whether it's in preview environment or in production environment. Now I'll go and I'll just reload. I will be able to see some dummy landing page. Now let's go and say, try to log in with some users. Let's say log in with this user. So to log in, there is no link, but you can add a link to a login page. By default, it's login. So I log in with this user, password. So now I'm the super admin dashboard because we logged in from the super admin user. If I log in from this user, I'll land on user dashboard. If I log in from this user, I'll land on this dashboard. So whenever you create a project, we install a couple of things by default. Let's see what all gets created. So in pages, several pages got created, which is a home page, which is I think a landing page. So this is the home page. It says home page. You can change the design. Then a forgot password page, change password page, sign up register page, super admin dashboard, reset password dashboard, user dashboard, tenant dashboard, and other pages, right? And then some data got created. If you go to collection, a tenant collection is created, which is a company. A role collection gets created by default, and the user. If we can even go and see the data. Snippets, no snippets. Some events got created like login event, logout event, sign up event, reset password. All these are very basic. No plugin, no external APIs, no assets, nothing. Okay, now let's go and see the collection. So it has created two tenants, tenant 1, tenant 2. 3 roles should be there, tenant admin, super admin, user, and a couple of users. So one user of each type, right? And then here you can see the data in preview and production environment. By default, data only gets created in preview environment, right? So now let's go and understand how to design a page and how to continue further. So this is our landing page. If I go and see, this is how it looks like currently. So let's go through all options one by one. So this is a builder where you will design something, right? So you can drag and drop components from here. So let's say you need a navbar, you just go drag and drop. So this is navbar. Let's say I don't need this navbar, I want some other navbar, I can just drag and drop. This is a link box. You can duplicate, undo, redo, right? So these are options where this first option is where you want to see the HTML code. So let's say I want to see the code of this link box. I can just click edit. So it is showing me the code. I can even edit the code. So let's say this is a whole navbar. I want to see the code. So this is the code of the navbar. Let's say I want to change the color from BG primary to BG success. These are all bootstrap classes. Update, you see it turned green because the CSS class got changed. So if you are comfortable working with HTML CSS, you can just go and edit the HTML of anything. So let's say I want to change this home page heading. I go to the code and let's say home page heading updated. Let's say okay, this is fine, but if I want to change it, I can just double click it and change it there itself. Change, update, delete. So I can directly do by double clicking that particular component, or I can do it in HTML if I'm comfortable working with HTML, right? So now let's say we have done some changes. I want to see the changes. I'll go preview, publish the changes. After that, I can open the page directly by clicking view or by clicking this link. So if I click this link, it will open this particular page. So this is change, this is change, right? Now let's say I want to add something, remove something. To remove, you could just delete. You want to duplicate something, you duplicate. You want to drag and drop something, you click this plus icon, drag and drop to the top, bottom, wherever you want to do. Let's say it is here. I want to drag this here. So this basically takes you to the upper level. This is visibility, where you can control who will see this, who will not see this. It's a separate topic altogether, that you want to show hide something on the basis of roles, on the basis of values, on the basis of who the person is, on the basis of whether they have permissions to access it or not. You can completely control the visibility of each and everything in your web application, right? And this is the settings. So basically by default, let's say this is classes. So these settings are different for each thing. For form elements, it is different. For images, these settings are different. Everything which has its own set of attributes which you can control, right? So let's drop some other component. Let's drop a data table. Let's say I want to display some dynamic data. So you can just drop a data table. So from which collection, you can choose from which collection you want to display data. Let's say I say data from user collection. Let's say, okay, I just want to display all the users. So it has created some dummy table for me. It is asking me filters, which you can control what all data you want to display. So it create a basic structure of a table, right? These are all filters, these are all columns. So let's say password is encrypted, username, role, email verified. Let's just save and then preview. So this will display some dynamic data. I reload the page, the data table is here and the data is here. So these are the users which are coming from the database. These are the password, which is obviously encrypted. So it is showing up like this. You can remove these columns if you don't need. You can multi-select, delete, you can duplicate, you can edit, update, you can drag and drop like this. So let's say I move it here. This also I move it here. You want to change something, just double click. Active user. So this way you are basically designing your pages. There are several components, like you can just drag and drop and then build the UI. The form components, all these have a specific video that how to use in each everything. But the very simple thing, you want to use something, just go drag and drop. So let's say I need an accordion, just drag and drop wherever you want an accordion. And you want to change something, just double click it. Okay. So this way you design. Components you can access from here also. You can search. So let's say I need a sidebar. You can just click sidebar, then drag and drop, right? The sidebar is here. So very basic thing, how you build something. Just drag and drop, then you can just edit them by clicking it, or you can just edit from HTML if you want. So this is the pages. Now coming to designing part. So let's say I want to design something, right? So you click it and here a style manager opens up. It controls everything. So the length, width, height, margin, padding. So let's go here. I'll remove this table for now. Okay. I'll remove this accordion. Okay, now let's say this is a button. So I want to add some margin top. So I can just add margin top. So it has moved towards the bottom, right? Let's say padding right, margin right, padding top 6 pixels. Let's say I make it 20 pixels. So it will become big. Bottom, instead of 6 pixels, I make 6 pixels, so it become big, right? So this way you can apply margin padding. you can basically control the font. So we have like several, like maybe more than 100 fonts supported. So you can just change the font. This is not looking good, but let's say this is another font. You can control the weight, whether it's bold, regular font, right? You can control the font size, you can control the font color, right? Like this. Then you can make it center line, left or right. So let's say this is my username. I want to make it uh, center line. So here it is, right align. Here it is. I want to change the font. I want to change the font size. Let's say 24 pixels. So I'll just type 24. Here it is. Right. Then I can apply opacity. See, the opacity is getting applied. I want to set some background color. Background color is getting applied. Border, some animation. So I can basically control whatever I want to do, right? So this way you are basically applying the look and feel with the UI. But let's say you want to apply some CSS class, you can just go and apply classes, assuming that the class exists in your code, which we'll cover in a while. Or if you want to apply some inline CSS, you can directly go edit it, and you can even apply like style, say font size 40 pixel, like this, right? So there are several ways how you want to design, right? But this is the most easier way. It's a complete no code way where you choose the element and then go to the style manager and apply whatever style you want to apply, right? I'll just revert the changes. So this way you can undo and redo the changes. Save. Now let's say I want to see how this looks like in a mobile view. So I can just go and click mobile, mobile landscape view. I want to see how it looks like in a tablet, right? So you can control how exactly this looks in different views. So this covers a very basic introduction of page, how to drag and drop a component to build a page, then how to apply a style like to that particular element. Now after this we have collections. So collections are where the dynamic data is. So whatever is in your database gets stored in collection. So you can go and create a collection like this. So let's say I want to store data of employee. I can just go click employee. Persisted, not persisted. Persisted means the data will get stored. Non-persisted, it comes into picture when you want to bring some external data source. Let's say you want to build on top of Superbase, Zeno, Airtable, anything, right? So where we create the structure of the collection, but we don't store anything. So everything comes from that particular data source. That is something which we'll cover in some other video. By default, the collections are persisted. We use MongoDB behind the scene. So each project has its own database and your data gets stored in that database. So let's say I want to capture the name of the employee, which is a text field. I'll say name. Then maybe I want to capture the date of joining, which is a date type, create. Then maybe an email of the employee. And maybe a drop down, let's say part-time employee or full-time employee, and then I create these fields. So now if you see, there are few more fields which got created. So ID by default, created at, created by. So these are date fields. That created at is a date field, that at what time this record got created. It's all the time are in GMT. Who created this record? Then who updated this record? If it is getting updated, company. So this is a tenant. Since it's a multi-tenant application, so each collection will have a reference of company, so that when you are seeing any record, you can easily say that this record belongs to this particular tenant. Then these are the four fields which we have just created. I can go and view the collection here. The employees here. Let's go and add few employees. So if I go and add an employee, so these are the options. Basically, you want to do some configuration, add field, remove field, delete, show, hide, all these things you can do from here. These are a couple of options like constructors, try fields, filters. All these are basically for accessing of data, viewing of data, create some default data, validations on forms. All these things are a topic in itself, but it gives a very basic introduction that what collections are, how the data gets stored, how it gets retrieved, and how you basically create queries to display data in your data table, data group, or wherever you want to display. So we create a couple of filters by default. This brings all the data. This brings only the data which is created by the logged in user. And this is the filter which brings the data which belongs to that particular tenant. So let's say I'm building an application for a company and I want to see the employees of the company. So I will only see the employees which are part of that company in which the current logged in user is logged in, right? And then let's go and create some data. Add employee. So it is asking me which company you want to add this employee. So we are in production environment. Let's change it to preview, because production we don't have any company created, right? I think I need to reload. So these are the companies. Name is not coming because maybe while configuring we have given ID, but you can choose which field you want to display, right? So this way you basically create that, and then you can create collection form, you can create events to basically create new employees, you can create data tables, data group to display the data of employees. So let's say I want to just create a simple collection form. What I'll do, I'll just go to the components, search for collection form, drag and drop, choose the collection employee, and then events, and this is something which we cover in a while. So this basically creates a form which has all the fields which are part of that particular employee, right? So if I want to preview this, I want to see how this form looks like, I can just click preview and then view, right? So this is how the form looks like. It has name, joining date, it was date field, email field, and part-time, full-time, right? So a very simple way, you create a collection and then you use the collection to build a data table to create collection form. This way, once someone submit this form, the data gets added to the database, right? So this is how dynamic data works. After that, we have snippets. So snippets are more like reusable components. So we have several type of snippets, like a regular snippet where you build something. Let's you build a sidebar, you build a header, footer, then you can reuse them as many times as you want. So let's go and add in snippet. I'll say sidebar, okay, which is a snippet. Create, right? And let's say sidebar. So this is a snippet. Okay, now let's use this snippet in some page. Let's on the home page. So this is my home page. Let me divide my home page into two parts, one for the other things and one for the like the sidebar. So let's say I say a 2-column layout. This is 1 column. So these are all a bootstrap row column container layout. We can go and see the layers from here. So this is the layer manager where you can see how your page is structured, and you can even move layers from here. So let's say I want to move my container outside of this, I can just drag and drop. I want to move something inside the container, I can drag and drop. So this way I can basically control either drag and drop directly from the page or maybe from the layer manager. You want to show it something, you can just disable it. So let's say I disabled it, it's getting disabled, right? So this is how you basically use the layer manager. And for snippets, you can just drag and drop. So we've created a sidebar snippet. I'm not spending much time on design, but it will just show you how this looks like. So let's say this is my sidebar, which is now coming from snippets. I'm not able to edit it here because this, for editing this, we will have to go to the snippet. As of now, we are on page. So we can only edit the components which are on the page. We cannot edit a snippet directly from here. To edit it, we have to go to the snippet from where it is coming. So this is one snippet, let's say sidebar, header, footer. Then we have a custom segment, which is basically kind of a snippet, but they're not linked. So in case of a snippet, if something changes at one place, let's say you've added one more option in header, it will get reflected everywhere. But in case of custom segment, it will not get reflected. So each one, you can edit the individual copy. These are model pop-ups. We have a very good tutorial that how you can use model pop-ups in your application. Sub page is a section of a page, again, type of a snippet, but instead of model pop-up, you can basically show hide or display something. So let's say I need a form here. I click a button, the form will open up here within the page. I submit it, it gets displayed, and then after that you can hide it. So like a model pop-up, but within the page. And then the last one is PDF template. So there are several use cases where you want to generate dynamic PDF. You go and design a nice looking PDF, and then you can bind it with event. You can download that PDF with the dynamic data. After that are the events. So these are the most important section, which basically binds your front end to the backend or to the database. So events are basically something which you want to get execute, or some workflow which you want to get execute when something happens. So let's say I'll call an event, let's say save employee, right? So save employee is an event which I want to execute. Whenever the form gets submitted, I want to this event to get executed. And let's say once this event get executed, we want to go to collection and save data, right? And in which collection? I'll just save an employee collection, maybe some success failure message, right? This is just one example. Let's say maybe after that I want to send an email, so I can go to navigate notifications and dynamic email, send SMS, give some alert, make a call to external APIs, call Zapier. Maybe I want to run some navigate the person on the basis of whether the employee is full-time, part-time, two different pages, one common page, login, sign up. So whatever is happening in the system on click, on navigation, everything gets controlled from the event. So it is basically linking your front end to the actual workflow and to the backend. Most important piece. After that, we have plugins. So plugins are a capability to extend the functionality of your web application. So by default, let's say you can design pages, you can put data in collection, you can create workflows, you can create validation. But let's say you want to generate some report, you want to have Google Analytics, you want to send emails using Amazon SES, right? You want a paid integration, you want a subscribe feature, you want Google Maps. So all these are ready-made components which you can just install and then extend the capability of your web application, like roles, permissions, messaging, two-factor authentication, Twitter, Amazon Extract. So these are all extended capabilities to enhance the functionality of your web application. You can install it as needed. After that, it's an external API. So this is again one of the most important module when you want your data to get connected to an external system. So let's say I'm building an application and I want a capability where wherever a new employee, new company signups, I want a trigger to my CRM. So I can do an API integration with my CRM. So I can give the URL, the data of the employees, and then I can send it as a dynamic data, all fields, custom field, form data, like you might have seen on Postman. So this is kind of Postman where all the APIs are getting triggered from the system on the basis of some event, and all these external APIs can be called from the events which I was showing here. And then maybe the API is returning some response. You want to process that response. You want to save the response in the database. You want to trigger some further action on the basis of the response. So all those can be done here. So this is the way when we are hitting someone's API, but let's say someone wants to call DrapCode API. So we have a full-fledged API support, REST API support. So if you go to help, if you develop an API, so this opens up the API of this particular project. So here, all the collections are there, all the APIs are there. So this way, basically they can call the data of DrapCode. They can fetch data, update records, and do any sort of API integration with DrapCode. So with DrapCode, we support both ways API integration. Any system in the world can contact or connect to DrapCode, as well as DrapCode can also connect to any system in the world via REST API. Right. So actually page done. Then assets are straightforward thing. These are basically images or static resources which you want to upload. You can just go and add. You can also search images. You can upload via URL. So let's say I need a waterfall image. So these are all royalty-free images which you can use in your project. So let's say I need a waterfall. I can select large, small, medium, and then add to library. Next comes the settings. So again, these are different settings of your project. I'll just quickly walk through them. So these are basic settings of your project. Like you can create environment variables, so you don't have to define something again and again. So let's say you have integrated with a Stripe and you want a Stripe API keys. So So you can create an environment variable. You can give the values, some dummy value, okay, and then create. So now you have a variable which is name is type keys, and there are different values for production environment versus live environment, preview environment, production environment and preview environment. So now you can use this variable across the project, and on the basis of in which environment the project is running, it will pick the values accordingly, right? After that, we have app settings. These are like some default date format. So you choose the date format, and all the dates in your application will be formatted according to that date. Custom domains, you want to map your application to a specific domain, your own custom domain. This can be helpful. Then PWA, if you want to launch your application as progressive web app, so you can enable the PWA feature. This will uh, build all the capabilities to launch your application as a progressive web app. Then database export, like you can export the dump of your database in whatever format you want, and import the dump back. Code export, so this way you can export the full-fledged full code of your web application. You can host that code and run it wherever you want. So in DrapCode, it's a very good feature. There is no vendor lock-in. You can export the code of your web application and host it wherever you want without giving any attribution back to DrapCode. Page settings, loading icon, you want to control how robot.txt environments. So this we've already covered. We have two environments by default, which is preview and production. But if you need, we support two more environments, which is sandbox and as well as pre-prod, alpha, beta, whatever. Developer API. So this is the most important thing if you are connecting to an API. So like I mentioned, we do have API documentation, and this is the API keys, which you can generate like this. So the API keys get generated. By default, all the APIs are disabled. So let's say I want to enable some API, I will go and have to enable. So let's say I want someone to be able to create a new company via API, then I will have to enable the API. Authorization, whether someone only authorized person can do it or unauthorized person can do it, like non-logged in person can do it. Similarly, we get companies, get some filter. So all these APIs are there, but you will have to enable it if you want to use it. There are few more features which gets enabled on the basis of like from which IP you want to access, what is the permission users should have when they can access this API. So there are a lot of different things, but this basically opens up a full-fledged REST API for application. You don't have to do anything. Everything is inbuilt by default. Then data encryption, this is advanced use case where you want to build application where you want to encrypt your data using Amazon KMS. So all the data or the specific fields of data that you can choose, and those will be encrypted using your own encryption key. So we don't see your data, we only see the encrypted data. We only store the encrypted data. We call your Amazon KMS key to encrypt or decrypt the data on the runtime. Versioning of project, localization, where you want to launch your application into multiple languages. So we have like support of some 200 plus languages. You can basically create those variables and then build a multilingual application for your users. So this is also supported by default. Profiler, activity, publish activity, permissions. So these are all capabilities where you see what is happening with your system, who is creating something. So if I'm publishing, I can see who published, at what time it got published. So all the activities are getting tracked. Then there are custom components. So there are several use cases where you don't have anything available. Then you can just go and create of your own. So it's a bit advanced topic. There are separate tutorials for this. Custom CSS, JS, you want to embed your own CSS libraries, you want to add your own JavaScript libraries. You can basically upload those libraries like this, or you can just copy paste the code, or you can even give the CDN URL. So all options are available for CSS, JS. This is an advanced option where you want to import an HTML theme, ready-made theme. Like there are a lot of Bootstrap 5. As of now we are on Bootstrap 5. So any HTML template or HTML theme which is on Bootstrap 5 can be used in DrapCode as it is. So you don't have to design your application from scratch. These are snapshots. So like you create a snapshot of your collection, pages, and then they can be reused. So it's more like a backup if you want. So templates, so there are several type of templates. So these are email templates, SMS templates. When you want to send an email, you go and create a template. All these variables get replaced on the runtime. You can bind it to a collection. So let's say I want to employee collection. Then I will see all the employee fields, right, which I can use in the project template. When the email will go, these templates or variables will get replaced by actual values of that particular employee. Same way SMS, or same way tooltip. So we have this feature of tooltip. So you can create tooltip templates. Whenever someone hover something, the tooltip will get generated dynamically. Data sources, it's a very wide concept. So we have like several data sources where you can build your web application on top of that data source. So let's say you have a data in Supabase, you want to build a full-fledged application on Supabase. You just give the key, it will pull the data, it will pull the schema, create all your collections, create events, create external APIs, so that you can directly integrate your application to Supabase. We have like support of several different data sources, and even if some data source is not available, that can easily be connected via REST API. So you can use DrapCode as a 100% front-end builder and bring your own data source. By default, we have our own database, but there are cases when you have your data already available on your table or Salesforce. You can just connect that particular data source and build full-fledged application on top of it. And then you can also view the source code of your application. You just go click generate. It will basically generate the full source code of your application. So you can actually see your whole project, all the files, and you can actually see the code which is like running your application, right? All the controllers, config, metadata, middleware, pages, everything is here. And you can actually export this code, which is part of a paid plan, and then you can host it wherever you want, right? So in a nutshell, it's a very basic introduction of DrapCode, that what all features are there, how you design pages, how you drag and drop elements, how do you create collection, how you create events, and then how you build a full-fledged application. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you again in this video. Bye-bye.